Greetings, fellow Watford fans. It's Omar here, and time for another Youorns focus. It's the Youorns Monday focus, this time on Watford versus Middlesbrough. A very important match coming up tomorrow at the Vic. And it is a match that Watford will be looking to win after losing the last two games they've played at Vicarage Road, including the first defeat in the Championship this season. That was to Queen's Park Rangers over the weekend. Watford will be hoping that the third time is the charm at the Vic in this third game inside a week at Vicarage Road as Watford look to get their first win since they defeated Burnley in the Championship a few weeks ago. Watford have gone winless in three games, four if you include that the Carabao Cup exit against MK Dons last week. Watford will be hoping that Middlesbrough, a team who should not be where they are in the table, for example, I mean, they were looking for sure, many people thought they'd be in the top five or six already in the early going. Middlesbrough at the bottom six right now, and the bottom end of the table, 18th in the 24 team table in the championship. Now, they got their first win of the season over the weekend, did Middlesbrough, as they beat Swansea, and they'll be hoping to keep that run going. Watford, however, will be hoping to start a new winning streak following this defeat that they took against Queen's Park Rangers, and also the fact that they've had these winless games now, and they have not won since the game against Burnley. And if you include that MK Dons game, it's four games without a win for your Orns. Now we hope that Watford will do some adjusting in this particular contest. It was, of course, we have a very thin squad, and it was a very poor performance in lots of areas against Queen's Park Rangers that led to the Watford downfall. But with a thin squad, it is going to be difficult to ask Rob Edwards to do very much else. I think he's likely to change formations a couple of times during this game, depending on what happens. But I think he's actually going to start with the same formation, or at least roughly a formation that he started, I think, against the likes of Queen's Park Rangers. I think he's going to go 4-3-3, and we'll see if it pans out or not. But I do think that he's going to have to try something different, and he might switch that formation during the game to something different. It might be 3-5-2 again. But when you look at the way that Middlesbrough, I think, are likely to set up, I think the 4-3-3 probably makes a bit more sense because Middlesbrough are going to be using likely a back three. Chris Wilder, the manager of Middlesbrough, will probably use five across the middle, and then he'll go 1-1. He'll go a number 10, I guess, into a number 9. So that is what I expect that Chris Wilder will do. He loves the midfield battle. He has done this over and over again, and he doesn't mind his fullbacks going well up the pitch as wing backs to try to make things happen. He did that at Sheffield United, and he may well do that tomorrow in the match at the Vic. But Watford are going to have to deal with the midfield because if Wilder does play five across, there's going to be some difficulty for Watford players to get through that particular line. There's going to have to be some technical ability out there, and it's too bad that Imran Louza will still not be available yet for this match. But I think you're going to need some unlocking in that midfield, and you're also going to need, I think, some wing backs. Of course, that's an anthem these days at Vicarage Road. We have been wondering about when those would ever arrive, if they do, because this game is significant for a number of reasons, not only because of the transfer window shutting just 2 days after this game, or really close to 3 days after this game, whatever the math says. I think it's 2 days after this game. And not only that, but also because it's a special occasion on Tuesday, and that would be, of course, 100 years, the 100-year anniversary of Watford at the Vic. That, of course, will be a monumental occasion on Tuesday. So Watford players will have to have the mentality to not play the occasion, but play the game. There'll be lots of tributes and celebrations and memories and stories told on Tuesday, but the players have to concentrate and fixate on the task at hand, which is to get 3 points against the Middlesbrough side, as I said, who I think are at the wrong end of the table in 18th place. Watford, as I said, sit in 6th. They'll be looking to bounce back after the defeat against Queen's Park Rangers. And I think what Watford have to do in this game is win that midfield battle, but they're also going to have to pass the ball much more quickly and much more incisively than they did against Queen's Park Rangers. And everyone is going to have to get involved in a Watford shirt. and fight for the cause, not just for 10 minutes in a game, not just for 20 minutes in a game, but for the whole 95 minutes or so of a game, because that is going to be what is required against the Middlesbrough side, who I think is going to be very dogged and difficult to break down. They have Duncan Watmore, the veteran footballer. They've got Marcus Force, who was signed from Brentford a few weeks back, who can be very dangerous as a striker. They've also got a number of other players who can hurt you. And they also have on loan goalkeeper from Manchester City, Zach Steffen, the American born goalkeeper, who is pretty good in goal, although he missed out the previous game against Swansea. We'll see if Chris Wilder brings him back into the action. They've got some players who can hurt you. And what happens with Middlesbrough is they are a mix of brawn and pace, and they are quite rugged and very talented and skilled players. So Watford need to be on their toes here against the Middlesbrough side, who I think can be very dangerous at the Vic tomorrow. I'm going to go with a draw in this game. I would love to see Watford win the game, but I just have a sneaky feeling that Watford are going to come out of the Vic with a draw against Middlesbrough, a team that they beat, by the way, in the Championship on the very first day of the Championship season back in the 2021 season. That was a Friday night game at the Vic under the lights on television. And this one is going to be a night game under the lights on television. We'll see if the result is the same. But I do think that Middlesbrough are going to be plucky enough and tricky enough in this game to make Watford rue some missed chances. Of course, the key in this game for Watford is to finish. We've been talking about that. I've been talking about that, as have many, for a long time now this season, and it's only 6 games old. The defense is going to have to be better than it's been, because for all the fact that Watford have conceded only 5 goals in 6 games, the biggest reason why they have is thanks to Daniel Bachmann, not thanks to the defense, because Daniel Bachmann has saved the bacon of the Watford defense on many an occasion this season, and he remains at this point the best Watford player to date this season so far. So there's a lot to mull over for Watford, a lot to do, and a lot more clinical and incisiveness and finishing that needs to be done by the Watford forward line. There'll be no Raymond I, very unlikely to see him, wouldn't expect him to be there. He clearly looked like he pulled his right hamstring on Saturday against QPR. So I expect that it's going to be Vakun Bio starting, and I think you'll probably see João Pedro alongside him. But I think it's going to be a 4-3-3. So I think what they'll do is they'll have Bio direct, they'll have João Pedro on the left, and they'll have Sar on the right. That's what I think is going to happen. So I think you'll see a 4-3-3 from Rob Edwards in the game tomorrow. And I think from there, we'll see what happens. As far as the defense goes, who do I see as the defense? I think you're going to have Cavaselli come out of the middle of the three, and you'll probably have a combination of Alta, Craig Cathcart in there, and you'll probably have, well, it's going to be 4, but you'll have Alta and Cathcart, I think, in the middle, and on the left you'll have Camera, I expect, and on the right you'll have Gaspar, perhaps. Gaspar, though, needs to be a whole lot better. He's only had maybe half of a game where he looked very lively. That was against Birmingham City a few weeks ago. But outside of that, he really has not done anything. And you just think about how badly Watford would have done with Ethan Laird on their team against Rangers the other day. And you just look at Gaspar, and he is a long way off of it at the minute. Yes, it's early doors. Yes, it's definitely a long way to go in this season. But there's really not much longer to wait, because I think a big factor in how Watford do is going to be what happens in this transfer window, and also, by the way, how the new players start to bed in. And yes, that will take time. I know it will. I get that. It will take time. But that is the key. Time is everything here. And it will be important the next month or so to see where this Watford team is. I think that the real Watford will start to show up, and I do think the results will come and will start to play a lot better football. But they'll have to start doing that tomorrow against Middlesbrough. This has been the YouOrns Monday Focus.